Imagine driving home on a stormy night, exhausted from work, when your headlights catch a desperate sight that changes everything. It was raining cats and dogs. Ethan drove through it without thinking. Single father, night shift. A man whose life had become a series of motions. Wake. Work. Return. Repeat. Then his headlights found her. A woman crouched on the shoulder of the highway. Soaked through. Arms wrapped tight around something that barely moved. An infant. But what if stopping to help a stranger meant risking your own fragile world? Ethan's foot hit the brake. He sat there, engine running, wipers scraping. He could have kept driving, but he didn't because he remembered what it felt like to be left behind. The brake lights glowed red against the rain. Ethan pushed the door open and stepped out. The cold hit him immediately. Water ran down his neck, soaked through his work jacket in seconds. He didn't care. The woman looked up. Her face was pale, lips colorless, eyes wide with something between fear and resignation. She wore scrubs, blue, cheap fabric, the kind that didn't dry fast, no coat, no umbrella, just her body curled around the infant in her arms. The baby wasn't crying. That was the part that scared him. Ethan moved closer, hands up, trying not to startle her. "Hey," he said. His voice came out rougher than he meant. "You need help?" It wasn't a question. The woman stared at him. Her jaw trembled. She pulled the baby tighter like she thought he might take it. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know where else to go." Ethan glanced down at the infant. 4 months old, maybe less. The blanket wrapped around it was thin, soaked through. The baby's skin looked blue in the dim light. He didn't think. He stepped forward, pulled off his jacket, and held it out. "Put this around the baby." The woman hesitated. Then her hands moved. She took the jacket with shaking fingers and wrapped it carefully around the small body. The baby stirred. A weak sound escaped its mouth. Relief flickered across her face. Ethan looked back at his truck. The engine was still running, heat pouring out. "Come on," he said. "I can't." "You can." He met her eyes. "You will." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Ethan walked back to the truck and opened the rear door. The woman followed slowly, every step cautious. She climbed in, holding the baby close. Ethan shut the door behind her and got back in the driver's seat. He cranked the heat all the way up. For a minute, no one spoke. Ethan watched her in the rearview mirror. She was staring down at the baby, rocking slightly. Her wet hair clung to her face. Her scrubs clung to her frame. She was thin. Too thin. The baby made another sound. Softer this time. The woman closed her eyes. "Thank you," she said quietly. Ethan didn't respond. He put the truck in gear and pulled back onto the highway. They drove in silence for a while. The rain didn't let up. The wipers scraped back and forth over and over. Ethan kept his eyes on the road, but his mind was somewhere else. He thought about the empty seat at his kitchen table. The toys his daughter arranged every night before bed. The way his ex-wife's voice had sounded when she said she couldn't do it anymore. He thought about being alone. And he thought about how easy it would have been to keep driving tonight, to not stop, to let someone else deal with it. But he had stopped because some part of him, buried deep under the exhaustion and the bitterness, still remembered what it meant to care. And now, this act of kindness was about to unravel secrets that could tear everything apart. "What's your name?" he asked. The woman lifted her head. "Claire." "I'm Ethan." She nodded slowly. "Where were you going?" he asked. Claire looked down at the baby again. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "I don't know." Ethan's hands tightened on the wheel. "How long have you been out here?" 2 days. 2 days. He didn't ask why. He didn't ask where she came from or what had happened. He just kept driving. After another stretch of silence, Claire spoke again. "I'm a nurse," she said. "Or I was. I lost my job 3 weeks ago." Ethan glanced at the mirror. "Why?" "I moved without updating my address." My housing permit expired. They let me go. Her voice was flat. Empty. I couldn't afford childcare. Couldn't afford rent. My ex. She stopped, her jaw clenched. He's not in the picture. Ethan said nothing. Claire looked up, meeting his eyes in the reflection. I tried shelters. They were full. I tried churches. They gave me a meal and sent me on. She swallowed. I had $23 left. I bought formula and then it ran out. Her voice cracked on the last word. Ethan felt something twist in his chest. He thought about his daughter, about what would have happened if he'd been the one out there. If he'd been the one with nowhere to go. You have somewhere now, he said. Claire blinked. What? You're coming home with me. She stared at him. I can't. Yes, you can. 6 words hung in the air like a confession. We don't have anywhere else. Ethan nodded. I know. The house was small. Ethan pulled into the gravel driveway and cut the engine. The rain had eased to a drizzle, but the air was still cold. He sat for a moment, staring at the darkened windows. It had been 3 years since anyone else lived here. 3 years since his ex-wife walked out with 2 suitcases and a list of reasons why she couldn't stay. The mortgage was too high. The hours were too long. He worked too much. He didn't make enough. She wanted more. Ethan had stopped listening halfway through. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Claire was still holding the baby, her head tilted down. She looked like she might fall asleep sitting up. We're here, he said quietly. Claire lifted her head. Her eyes focused slowly on the house. It was a single-story ranch with chipped paint and a sagging front porch. The lawn needed mowing. The mailbox leaned to one side, but the lights inside were warm. This is your house? She asked. Yeah. You live alone? No. Ethan opened the door. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 8. She's staying with my sister tonight. Claire nodded but didn't move. Ethan got out and opened the rear door. He reached for the baby. Claire hesitated, then handed the small bundle over carefully. Ethan cradled the infant against his chest. It was lighter than he expected, warm now, but still too quiet. Come on, he said. Claire climbed out slowly. Her legs looked unsteady. Ethan walked ahead, unlocking the front door and pushing it open. Inside, the house smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. The living room was tidy, too tidy. The couch was clear. The floor was swept. Emma's toys were stacked neatly in a bin by the television. Ethan flipped on a lamp. Warm light filled the room. He handed the baby back to Claire and moved to the thermostat, turning the heat up a few degrees. Then he walked to the hallway closet and pulled out a clean towel. Here, he said, holding it out. Claire took it. She dried her face first, then the baby's head. Her hands moved gently, carefully, like she'd done this 1,000 times. Ethan watched her for a moment. Then he turned and walked into the kitchen. He filled a kettle with water and set it on the stove. While it heated, he pulled a box of tea from the cabinet. Chamomile. His sister had left it here months ago. When he returned to the living room, Claire was sitting on the edge of the couch. The baby was in her lap, wrapped in the towel now. Claire's scrubs were still damp, but she didn't seem to notice. Ethan set the mug of tea on the coffee table in front of her. Drink that, he said. Claire looked at it, then at him. Why are you doing this? She asked. Ethan sat down in the chair across from her. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Because someone should have done it for me. Claire's brow furrowed. Ethan exhaled slowly. 3 years ago, my wife left. Said she couldn't take it anymore. The bills, the stress. Me? He looked down at his hands. I had a 6-month-old and a full-time job. No family nearby. No savings. I didn't know what I was doing. He stopped. Claire waited. I almost lost Emma, he said quietly. I almost gave her up because I thought I couldn't do it, that I wasn't enough. He looked up, meeting Claire's eyes, but I didn't. And someone helped me. My neighbor, old guy, didn't talk much. He watched Emma for free while I worked nights. Didn't ask for anything, just did it. Claire's throat moved. He saved us, Ethan said. And I never got to thank him. He died 2 years ago. The room was silent except for the hum of the heater kicking on. You don't owe me anything, Ethan continued. But you and your kid, you're staying tonight. Tomorrow, we'll figure out the rest. Claire's eyes filled. She blinked quickly, looking away. I don't even know you, she whispered. I know. You don't know me. I know enough. Claire shook her head slowly. What if I'm dangerous? Ethan almost smiled. Are you? No, then we're fine. Claire looked down at the baby. Her lips trembled. Thank you, she said again. Softer this time. Ethan stood. There's a bedroom down the hall. Second door on the left. Sheets are clean. Bathroom's across from it. He gestured toward the kitchen. There's food in the fridge. Help yourself. Claire nodded. Ethan turned to leave. Then he stopped. Claire. She looked up. You're safe here. He didn't know yet that letting her in would change everything. 1 week later, the house didn't feel as empty. Claire stayed in the second bedroom. She kept the door half closed, like she might need to leave quickly. The baby slept in a bassinet Ethan had borrowed from his sister. Claire folded laundry. She washed dishes. She cooked meals she didn't eat much of. She never asked for anything. Ethan didn't ask questions. Emma came home on the third day. She stood in the doorway, staring at Claire with wide eyes. Who's that? Emma asked. Ethan crouched down beside his daughter. Her name's Claire. She's staying with us for a little while. Emma looked at the baby in Claire's arms. What's the baby's name? Claire glanced at Ethan, then back at Emma. Noah, she said softly. Emma stepped closer. Can I see him? Claire nodded. She sat on the couch and Emma climbed up beside her, peering at the infant's face. Noah's eyes were open, dark and unfocused. He's so small, Emma whispered. He is, Claire said. Emma looked up at her. Are you going to stay forever? Claire's expression shifted. Something fragile passed through her eyes. I don't know, she said. Emma frowned. Then she turned to Ethan. She should stay, Dad. No one needs us. Ethan didn't know what to say. At night, after Emma went to bed, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan would sit at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee he didn't drink. Claire would stand by the window, rocking Noah, staring out at nothing. She didn't talk about where she'd come from. She didn't talk about the father. She didn't talk about why she'd been on that highway in the rain. And Ethan didn't push. But he noticed things. The way she startled when a door closed too hard. The way she checked the locks twice before bed. The way her hand shook when she held Noah like she was afraid someone might take him. One night, Ethan found her sitting on the porch steps. It was past midnight. The air was cold. She wore one of his old sweatshirts, sleeves rolled up, arms wrapped around her knees. He sat down beside her. You okay? He asked. Claire didn't look at him. I don't know how long I can stay. Ethan stared out at the dark street. Stay as long as you need. Claire shook her head. You don't know what you're getting into. He didn't know yet that peace never lasts long in a house built from pain. It happened on a Tuesday night. Noah woke up screaming. Not the usual cry. Something sharper, desperate. Claire bolted upright in bed. She grabbed Noah from the bassinet, her hands trembling as she pressed her palm to his forehead. He was burning. Ethan. Her voice cracked. Ethan was in the doorway in seconds. He'd been awake already, reading in the living room. He saw the panic in her eyes. He's too hot, Claire said. Her voice was tight, controlled. We need to go now. Ethan didn't ask questions. He grabbed his keys. They were at the emergency room in 12 minutes. The waiting room was fluorescent and cold. Claire sat with Noah against her chest, rocking him slowly. Ethan sat beside her, elbows on his knees, watching the door. A nurse called them back after 20 minutes. They ran tests, checked his temperature, gave him fluids. The doctor said it was a viral infection common in infants. He'd be fine. But Claire didn't look fine. They sat in the waiting room afterward. Noah asleep in her arms, the fever already breaking. Claire stared at the floor, her jaw tight, her breathing uneven. Ethan didn't say anything. He just sat there. Finally Claire spoke. "His father did this once," she said quietly. Ethan looked at her. "Noah got sick when he was 6 weeks old. Fever just like tonight." Her voice was flat, empty. "I told his father we needed to go to the hospital. He said I was overreacting. Said I was wasting money." She stopped. Her hands tightened around Noah. "I took him anyway, drove myself, borrowed money from a coworker for the copay." She swallowed. "When I got home, he was waiting. Said I'd embarrassed him. Made him look weak." Ethan's stomach turned. "He hit me," Claire said. "Not hard. Just enough to remind me who made the decisions." She looked up. Her eyes were dry. Too dry. That was the first time. It wasn't the last. Ethan felt something cold settle in his chest. "I stayed for 8 months after that," Claire continued. "Kept telling myself it would get better, that he'd change, that I could fix it." She shook her head. "Then one night, he came home drunk, started yelling, picked up Noah, and her voice broke." Ethan waited. "He didn't hurt him," Claire whispered. "But he could have. And I knew. I knew if I stayed one day he would." She looked down at Noah, her expression soft and broken. "So I left. Middle of the night, took Noah and $20 and got on a bus." Her throat moved. "I didn't have a plan. I just knew I couldn't go back." Ethan's hands curled into fists. "I called my parents," Claire said. "They told me I made my choice. That I should have listened to them from the start." She smiled bitterly. "They were right. I didn't listen. And now I'm here homeless, broke, depending on a stranger." She looked at Ethan. "You shouldn't have stopped for me," she said. Ethan held her gaze. "Yes, I should have." Claire's eyes filled. She blinked quickly, looking away. "You did what you had to," Ethan said quietly. "You protected your son. That's not weakness. That's strength." Claire shook her head. "I don't feel strong." "You don't have to feel it for it to be true." The waiting room was quiet except for the hum of the vending machine in the corner. Ethan recognized the same emptiness in someone else's eyes. And for the first time in 3 years, he didn't feel so alone in it. The neighbors started talking after 2 weeks. Ethan noticed it first at the mailbox. Mrs. Brennan from across the street watched him a little too long, smiled a little too tight. "That's nice of you," she said. "Helping that girl out." Ethan nodded. "She family?" Mrs. Brennan asked. "No, friend. Something like that." Mrs. Brennan's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Well, it's good of you, though. I'd be careful. You never know with strangers." Ethan didn't respond. He walked back inside, but the talk didn't stop. 2 days later, Emma came home from school upset. She dropped her backpack by the door and went straight to her room. Ethan followed. "What happened?" Emma was sitting on her bed, arms crossed. "Megan's mom asked me if Claire was your girlfriend." Ethan's jaw tightened. "What did you say?" I said, "No, she's just staying with us." Emma looked up, but then Megan said her mom said it was weird, that you shouldn't have a stranger living here. Ethan sat down beside her. "It's not weird to help someone who needs it. Then why is everyone talking about it?" He didn't have a good answer. That night, Claire was quiet at dinner. She barely touched her food. When Emma went to bed, she stood up and started clearing the table. "Claire," Ethan said. She didn't look at him. "I should go." "What?" I heard what Emma said. "People are talking." Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I don't want to cause problems for you." Ethan stood. "You're not causing problems." "Yes, I am." Claire finally looked at him. You've done enough. More than enough. I can figure something out. Where are you going to go? She didn't answer. Claire, I don't know. Her voice cracked. But I can't stay here and ruin your life. Ethan stepped closer. You're not ruining anything. People think I don't care what people think. Claire shook her head. You should. You have a daughter. You have a reputation. I'm just. She stopped. Her hands gripped the edge of the counter. I'm just a burden. The word hung in the air. Ethan felt something twist in his chest. Is that what you think? He asked quietly. Claire looked away. Ethan exhaled slowly. 3 years ago, people talked about me too. Said I couldn't raise Emma alone. That I'd mess it up. That I should let her go to her mother's family. He met Claire's eyes. But I didn't. Because what people think doesn't matter. What matters is doing the right thing. Claire's throat moved. You're not a burden, Ethan said. And you're not leaving. She stared at him. Then she looked down. I don't know how to repay you, she whispered. You don't have to. He closed the door softly that night, unsure if he was shutting her out or himself in. Claire packed her bag the next morning. Ethan found her in the bedroom folding Noah's clothes into a worn duffel. The baby was asleep in the bassinet. Sunlight streamed through the window, but the room felt cold. What are you doing? Ethan asked. Claire didn't look up. It's better this way. For who? For you? For Emma? Ethan stepped into the room. You're leaving in the middle of the day? No plan? Nowhere to go. Claire zipped the bag. I'll figure it out like you did before. She flinched. Ethan immediately regretted the words. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You're right, Claire said quietly. She picked up the bag. I didn't figure it out. I ended up on the side of a highway with my son in the rain. And if you hadn't stopped, her voice broke. I don't know what would have happened. She walked toward the door. Ethan blocked her path. Move, Claire said. No, Ethan. Sit down. Claire stared at him. Her eyes were red but dry. Please, Ethan said. She hesitated. Then she dropped the bag and sat on the edge of the bed. Ethan sat in the chair by the window. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. My wife left when Emma was 5, he said. Claire looked up. We'd been married 7 years. Ethan continued. High school sweethearts. Got married young, had Emma young. I thought we were fine. He exhaled. I was wrong. He stared at the floor. She told me one night that she couldn't take it anymore. The bills, the stress, the house. Me? His voice was flat. She said she felt trapped, that she'd given up her life for mine, that she deserved better. Claire said nothing. She packed 2 suitcases and left. Didn't ask for custody. Didn't fight for Emma. Just signed the papers and moved 3 states away. Ethan's hands tightened. People talked, said it was my fault, that I must have done something, that good wives don't just leave. He looked up. They looked at me like I was broken, like I'd failed. Claire's expression softened. I worked nights at the factory, Ethan said. Couldn't afford daycare. Couldn't find a sitter. I didn't know what to do. He swallowed. I almost gave Emma up. Almost called her mother's family and said I couldn't handle it. Claire's eyes widened. But I didn't, Ethan said. Because my neighbor, old guy, lived alone, didn't talk much. He knocked on my door one night. Said he'd watch Emma while I worked. Didn't want money. Just did it. His throat tightened. He saved us and I never got to thank him properly. He died 2 years ago. The room was silent. Ethan met Claire's eyes. I'm not helping you because I feel sorry for you, he said. I'm helping you because I know what it's like to be alone. To feel like you're not enough. To have people look at you like you're worthless. Claire's face crumpled. You're not a burden, Ethan said. And you're not leaving. Claire covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. Ethan stood and crossed the room. He sat beside her. Didn't touch her. Just sat there. I don't want to be alone anymore, Claire whispered. You're not, Ethan said. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone either. And that terrified him. It happened 3 days later. Ethan was in the garage fixing Emma's bike when he heard the knock, sharp, insistent. He walked to the front door and opened it. A man stood on the porch. Mid-30s, unshaven, jacket too thin for the weather. His eyes were bloodshot. Help you? Ethan asked. The man's gaze moved past him into the house. I'm looking for Claire. Ethan's stomach dropped. Who are you? Her husband. The word landed like a stone. Ethan didn't move. She's not here. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. That's funny. Because her sister said she might be. Ethan's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. The man stepped closer. Look, I don't want trouble. I just want to see my son. You need to leave. I have rights. You have nothing. The man's expression darkened. Where is she? I said. Leave. Behind him, Ethan heard footsteps. He turned. Claire stood in the hallway, frozen. Her face had gone pale. The man saw her. There you are, he said. Claire's hands trembled. You need to go, Derek. Derek stepped into the doorway. Ethan blocked him. Get out of my way, Derek said. No. Derek shoved him. Ethan stumbled back, catching himself on the door frame. His shoulder hit the wood hard. Claire gasped. Derek moved toward her. You think you can just take my kid and disappear? He's not yours, Claire said. Her voice shook. You lost that right when you put your hands on me. Derek laughed. You're insane. I never touched you. You're a liar. Prove it. Ethan stepped between them. I'm calling the police. Derek's eyes narrowed. Who the hell are you? Doesn't matter. You sleeping with my wife? Get out. Derek lunged. Ethan caught him by the arm and twisted, forcing him back toward the door. Derek swung. His fist connected with Ethan's jaw. Pain exploded through his face. Ethan shoved him hard. Derek stumbled down the porch steps and hit the ground. You're done, Ethan said. His voice was low. Steady. You come back here, I call the cops. You touch her again, I make sure you regret it. Derek got to his feet slowly. Blood dripped from his lip. He pointed at Claire. This isn't over, he said. Then he turned and walked away. Ethan stood on the porch until Derek's car disappeared down the street. His hands were shaking. His jaw throbbed. He turned. Claire was sitting on the floor. Noah in her arms. Her face was buried in the baby's blanket. Her whole body trembled. Ethan crossed the room and crouched beside her. He's gone, he said quietly. Claire looked up. Tears streaked her face. He'll come back. Then we'll deal with it. You don't understand. He doesn't stop. He never stops. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then we call the police. Get a restraining order. That won't stop him. It's a start. Claire shook her head. I can't stay here. I'm putting you in danger. I don't care. You should. Ethan met her eyes. I've spent 3 years being careful, playing it safe, not letting anyone in. And you know what? It didn't make me any less alone. Claire's breath hitched. You're not leaving, Ethan said. We're going to figure this out together. Claire stared at him. Then she nodded. That night, they sat in the kitchen. The lights were off. The house was silent. They stood at the threshold, rain outside, silence between them, and a choice either wanted to make. But they'd already made it. Morning came slowly. Ethan woke to the sound of the coffee maker. He sat up wincing. His jaw was swollen. His shoulder ached. He walked into the kitchen. Claire was at the counter pouring coffee into 2 mugs. Noah was in a carrier on the table, awake and quiet. Emma sat beside him, making faces to get him to smile. Claire looked up when Ethan entered. Her eyes moved to his face. "Sit down," she said. Ethan obeyed. Claire opened the freezer and pulled out a bag of frozen peas. She wrapped it in a towel and handed it to him. "Hold that on your jaw," she said. Ethan pressed it to his face. The cold stung. Claire sat across from him. She wrapped her hands around her mug, but didn't drink. "I called the police this morning," she said quietly. "Filed a report, requested a restraining order." Ethan nodded. "They said it'll take a few days," Claire continued. "But they have it on record now. If he comes back, he won't," Ethan said. Claire looked at him. "You don't know that." "I know he's a coward. And cowards don't come back when they know someone's watching." Emma glanced up from Noah. "Is the bad man gone, Dad?" Ethan met his daughter's eyes. "Yeah, sweetheart. He's gone." Emma smiled. Then she looked at Claire. "Does that mean you're staying?" Claire's expression softened. She looked at Ethan. He didn't say anything, just held her gaze. Claire turned back to Emma. "For now." Emma's smile widened. "Good. Noah needs us." Later, after Emma left for school, Claire cleaned Ethan's cuts. She worked carefully, her hands steady. She'd done this before too many times. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did. He could have hurt you worse." "He didn't." Claire's hands stilled. She looked at him. "Why? Why? What? Why did you stand up for me? You barely know me." Ethan held her gaze. "Because no one stood up for me when I needed it. And I know what that feels like." Claire's eyes filled. "You're not alone anymore," Ethan said. "Neither of us are." She nodded. Then she went back to cleaning the cut on his cheek. That afternoon, Noah laughed for the first time. It was a small sound, barely more than a giggle, but it filled the room. Emma clapped. Claire smiled. Ethan felt something tight in his chest loosen. They sat together at the kitchen table, the four of them. Sunlight streamed through the window. The tea had gone cold, but no one moved. For the first time in a long time, the house didn't feel empty. Ethan smiled. Not because everything was fine, but because somehow they were still here, and that was enough. 2 months passed. The restraining order came through. Derek didn't come back. The neighbors stopped talking. Life settled into something that almost felt normal. Claire found work at a diner 3 miles away, part-time, morning shifts. The pay wasn't much, but it was something. Ethan's sister watched Noah while Claire worked. Emma helped after school, entertaining the baby with toys and songs. The house didn't feel temporary anymore. Dinner became a ritual. The four of them at the table. Emma talking about school. Noah in his high chair, grabbing at everything. Claire cooking meals that filled the house with warmth. Ethan coming home from his shift to find the lights on and voices inside. He'd forgotten what that felt like. One evening, Ethan found Claire folding laundry in the living room, his work shirts, his jeans. She'd washed them without asking. "You don't have to do that," he said. Claire looked up. "I know. Then why?" "Because I want to." Ethan stood in the doorway, watching her hands move. Careful, precise, like she was folding something fragile. "Thank you," he said quietly. Claire smiled. It was small, but it reached her eyes. Ethan felt something shift in his chest. He turned and walked to the kitchen before she could see his face. Another night, Claire came home late from her shift. Ethan was still awake, reading on the couch. She dropped her bag by the door and sat down beside him. "Long day?" Ethan asked. "Yeah." They sat in silence. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the tick of the clock on the wall. "Ethan," Claire said. He looked at her. She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. "Never mind," she said. "What?" "It's nothing." Ethan set his book down. "Doesn't seem like nothing." Claire's hands twisted in her lap. She stopped. "I don't know how to say this." "Say what?" She met his eyes. "I don't know what this is." Us living here? I don't know what we're doing. Ethan's throat tightened. I don't either, he admitted. Claire looked down. I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to. She stopped again. I just don't want to mess this up. Ethan leaned forward. You're not going to. You don't know that. I do. Claire shook her head. What if I do something wrong? What if Claire? She looked at him. You're not going to mess this up, Ethan said. Because there's nothing to mess up. He searched for the right words. We're just here together. That's enough. Claire's eyes filled. She blinked quickly. Is it? She whispered. Ethan didn't know how to answer that, so he didn't. He just sat there close enough to feel her warmth, far enough to give her space. One Saturday, Emma asked if they could go to the park, all four of them. They walked there in the afternoon. Emma ran ahead. Ethan pushed Noah in the stroller. Claire walked beside him. Their hands brushed once, twice. The third time, either of them pulled away. They didn't talk about it. They didn't need to. That night, Ethan lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the way Claire's hand had felt against his. Warm, solid, real. He closed his eyes. They both looked away, but neither could pretend any more. It happened on a Tuesday. Emma woke up coughing. Ethan checked on her before work. Her forehead was warm, not burning, but enough to worry him. Stay home today, he said. I'll call the school. Emma nodded weakly. Ethan called his sister, asked if she could come by. She said she'd be there in an hour. He left for his shift at 6 in the morning. By noon, his sister called. You need to come home, she said. Her voice was tight. Emma's worse. Her fever spiked. She's having trouble breathing. Ethan's blood went cold. He told his supervisor. Clocked out, drove home faster than he should have. When he walked through the door, Claire was on the couch with Emma. The girl's face was flushed. Her breathing was shallow. Claire had a damp cloth pressed to her forehead. How long has she been like this? Ethan asked. Claire looked up. About an hour. I called the clinic. They said to bring her in if it gets worse. Ethan crouched beside his daughter. Hey, sweetheart. How do you feel? Emma's eyes fluttered open. Tired, Dad. We're going to the doctor. Okay. She nodded. Ethan picked her up. She was light. Too light. He carried her to the truck. Claire followed with Noah. They drove to the urgent care clinic in silence. Ethan's hands gripped the wheel. His mind raced. He thought about the last time Emma had been this sick. 3 years ago, right before his wife left, Emma had been in the hospital for 4 days. Pneumonia. She'd almost died. And his wife had walked out 2 weeks later. Said she couldn't handle it anymore. Ethan's chest tightened. He couldn't lose Emma. He couldn't. At the clinic, they waited. The nurse took Emma back, ran tests, checked her lungs. The doctor came out 20 minutes later. It's pneumonia, she said. Early stage. We're starting her on antibiotics. She'll need to stay hydrated and rest. If she gets worse, bring her to the ER. Ethan nodded. His throat was too tight to speak. They drove home. Emma fell asleep in the back seat. Claire sat beside Ethan, Noah in her lap. She's going to be okay, Claire said softly. Ethan didn't respond. When they got home, he carried Emma to her room, tucked her in, sat on the edge of her bed, and watched her breathe. In, out, in, out. His hands were shaking. Claire appeared in the doorway. She didn't say anything, just stood there. Ethan's vision blurred. I can't lose her, he whispered. Claire stepped into the room. She sat down beside him. You won't, she said. Ethan shook his head. You don't know that? Yes, I do. Last time she was this sick, his voice broke. Her mother left. She said she couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't watch Emma suffer. Couldn't handle the stress. So, he stopped. She left. Claire's hand found his. I'm not leaving, she said. Ethan looked at her. His eyes were red. Wet. You don't know that, he said. Claire's grip tightened. Yes, I do. Because I know what it's like to lose everything. And I know what it's like to be saved. Her voice was steady, strong. You saved me, Ethan. You and Emma. And I'm not going anywhere. Ethan's face crumpled. He leaned forward and Claire wrapped her arms around him. He cried for the first time in 3 years. And she held him. Emma recovered over the next week slowly, but she recovered. And when she did, she asked Ethan a question. Is Claire going to stay forever now? Ethan looked at Claire across the kitchen. She looked back. Yeah, he said. I think so. Spring came quietly. The air warmed. The trees bloomed. The grass in the yard turned green again. Ethan planted a small garden in the back. Nothing fancy, just tomatoes and herbs. Emma helped. Claire watched from the porch. Noah on her hip. The baby was almost a year old now. He could stand, almost walk. He babbled constantly, reaching for everything. Emma taught him words. Dad, Mama up. Claire didn't correct her when Emma called her that. One Saturday afternoon, they all sat in the yard. Emma and Noah played in the grass. Ethan and Claire sat on the porch steps watching. The sun was warm. The sky was clear. I got a letter yesterday, Claire said. Ethan looked at her. From my parents, she continued. They want to meet Noah. What did you say? I haven't responded yet. Claire's gaze was distant. I don't know if I want to. Ethan waited. They told me I was making a mistake, Claire said quietly. When I married Derek, they said I was too young. That I didn't know what I was doing. She swallowed. They were right. But when I left him, they told me I made my bed. That I had to lie in it. Her jaw tightened. And now they want to see their grandson like nothing happened. Ethan leaned back on his hands. What do you want to do? Claire was quiet for a long moment. I want to forgive them, she said. But I don't know if I can. You don't have to decide today. Claire nodded. Then she looked at him. What would you do? Ethan thought about his ex-wife, about the way she'd left, the things she'd said. I'd give them a chance, he said. Not for them, for you and for Noah. He met Claire's eyes. Because holding on to anger doesn't hurt them. It only hurts you. Claire's expression softened. When did you get so wise? She asked. Ethan smiled. I didn't. I just learned the hard way. Emma ran up to the porch out of breath. Dad, can Claire stay forever? Ethan glanced at Claire. She was already looking at him. Do you want her to? He asked his daughter. Emma nodded eagerly. Yes, and Noah too. We're a family now, right? Ethan's throat tightened. He looked at Claire. What do you think? Claire's eyes were bright, wet. If you'll have us, she whispered. We already have, Ethan said. Emma threw her arms around both of them. Noah crawled over and grabbed Ethan's leg, pulling himself up. They sat there together, the four of them, in the warm spring sun. Ethan thought about the night he'd found Claire on the side of the highway, soaked, desperate, holding a baby that barely moved. He'd almost kept driving, but he hadn't. And now sitting here watching Emma laugh and Noah babble and Claire smile. Really smile, he understood something. Saving someone else was exactly how you saved yourself. The house wasn't empty anymore. The table wasn't quiet. The nights weren't long. Ethan had spent 3 years believing he was broken. That his life was over. That he'd never be whole again. But he'd been wrong. Healing didn't come from fixing what was broken. It came from building something new, something better, something worth holding on to. That evening, after the kids were asleep, Ethan and Claire sat on the porch again. The stars were out. The air was cool. Claire leaned against him. He wrapped his arm around her. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For stopping. Ethan's chest tightened. Thank you for getting in, he said. They sat in silence, comfortable, easy. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of rain began. Soft, gentle, but they were dry. They were safe. They were home. Sometimes saving someone else is exactly how you save yourself. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the only strength left when everything else falls apart. And family isn't blood. It's the people who stay when the rain hasn't stopped yet. If this story touched you, share it. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to know they're not alone.